thousands of crores. This case started 10 years ago. On this matter, there is a bail on which Sonia Gandhi ji and Rahul Gandhi ji are out. That means courts are applying their prima facie view and seeing that there is a reason there that is not making sense. They are on bail on the matter, and it is to be believed that no, the BJP is persecuting them. They went to the court. They sought from the court some relief. The court has given them bail but not quashed or destroyed the case registered against them. So no matter what the Congress party's spokespersons may wish to say, the fact of the matter is there is something here that is not right.
Okay.
There is something here that courts and agencies believe that it's credible, that needs to be investigated.
Okay.
And like any other Indian citizen, they are not above the law. They need to be investigated.
Okay.
This is not a satyagraha for any honesty.
Let me
this
now,
is a political stunt.
Let me go to the other guests as well. Kapil, one second. One at a time. I'll come back to you in due course. Let me go to Kapil Sankhla. Kapil Sankhla, one of the primary arguments raised by Nalin Kohli is, as per the Representation of People's Act 1950, a political party is not allowed to give a loan. So how did the Congress party, or in this case, Young India, take over the entire loans of AJL? First of all, how can the Congress party give loans to the tune of 90 crores over a period of time? I'm not saying 1 year or 2 years, but over a period of time. How can it lend as much as 90 crore rupees to the running of a newspaper?
There are two parts of what I'm about to say. One, the purely legal matrix, and then the factual matrix. In terms of section 29A to C of the Representation of People's Act, and also in terms of section 13A of the Income Tax Act, it is illegal for any political party to lend money for commercial use or other purposes. In this case, the money that was given was unsecured, and there have been number of judgments and scams where the Honorable Supreme Court, various courts, CBI courts have stated that and have questioned under what circumstances have you given unsecured loans. So that's the first part, what is questionable as far as the law is concerned. And now the second part of it, just the background on what is the legality or the illegality in the entire transaction. Well, AJL was created with around 5,000 shareholders pre-independence. There are around 1,000 shareholders which are still alive and they still own the shares in AJL. So the first question was, how could the AJL's assets be transferred to another company without a notice to them? That's the first legal encumbrance which is there, and the fallacy in the argument.
I'm sorry to interrupt, but Supriya's contention and the Congress party's contention is that the assets were never transferred. AJL continues to hold those assets.
I'm coming to that.
Yeah.
I'm coming to that. You see, it's potatoes. I mean, you transfer the shares in a company, the physical shares will never go. It would be the shareholding that would go. So the question is, then you say, oh, physically the property did not go. It doesn't really matter. The shares got transferred. The company for all its purposes is now a part of Young India. Young India owns all its shares. The company only owns freehold and leasehold properties. The properties were given by the government over the years as government largesses, and therefore these properties predominantly belong to the government. Importantly, also are those properties which are leasehold properties. So leasehold property cannot be transferred without the permission of the government department, which actually owns that company. So therefore there is an absolute inherent fallacy in the argument that was being put. And this is no politically motivated, this is what the law is. So, you can call it anything, but the fact is that the assets got transferred.
Okay.
And the assets got transferred without keeping in loop the shareholders of AGL. So, if there were 5,000 shareholders and there are 1,000 shareholders, I think Justice Kaju is also one of the shareholders. Correct. Because I just read his tweet. The question was that they had to be put to notice. They were never put to notice.
Okay.
That's the first part. The second part is that in 2008, AGL stopped printing. All these properties, predominantly which are leasehold properties or out of government largesses, were given to AGL for the purpose of printing the 3 papers that they were printing. Once they stopped printing, the question arose, would these properties, either they have to change the nature of those properties, and then you of course require government permissions, etc., or these properties go back to the government or the government departments that own these properties.
Okay.
Interestingly, in this case, none of that happens. The properties are still retained by AGL. AGL starts the business of construction and commercial ventures and starts running different, enjoys rental properties from commercial properties, and nobody raises the question. Everything is hunky-dory. The second question then is, how could AGL, of course, change its business model without permission from its shareholders and without first informing the government as far as those properties are concerned, because there are substantial properties which are leasehold properties and not just freehold properties. That's the second legal encumbrance. All right. The third, of course, as you rightly said, that the Congress party could not have given loan, in this case an unsecured loan of a substantial amount of 90 crore to a company. Now the interesting part is Congress, of course, is predominantly owned by the Gandhis and you know, the other people who are very closely linked to the Gandhis, etc., which is fine. AGL 33 or 30% odd was owned by the Gandhi family as well as people close to the Gandhi family. Young India 70 or 75% is owned by the Gandhis directly, and of course people close to the Gandhi family. And so the Gandhis argument, or the argument of the Congress, is that these are just three basic units which are part of the Congress, and therefore you cannot raise any question. But the question here is that AGL that owns, madam, just a second, madam, just a second, madam, just a second, I could be louder,
I think everyone is
I
best
do this for a living.
Everyone is best served when we go one by one, please.
I could go on and on, madam.
You've been in my position before, so
please. I understand that.
Please bear with Kapil as he finishes.
What I'm saying is, as far as Thank you. As I said, these are just legal arguments as I understand the facts before me and nothing else.
Okay.
So the question here is, and the question is very, very limited, is one, how could AGL transfer its shareholding to Young India? That's one. How could Young India, which was a recently created entity, get itself registered as a not-for-profit organization where all it was to do is to own the shareholding of AGL that owned substantial properties and was earning profit or earning money from commercial ventures.
Yeah.
So that's the second question. And third, of course, yes please. And third, of course, is very rightly, how could Congress either fund AGL at any time or fund Young India, which is also one of the allegations? I'm not privy to that. So there are three issues.
I want to go to